What's going on, YouTube? JBeasy here, and I'm back with another guide for you guys. Today I want to talk about Boomy. I've been playing a lot of Boomy this season. I'm currently number 1 in Solo Shuffle. I'm also currently number 1 in my DH, so I plan on making a DH guide as well. But Boomy has been my main for a while. I haven't made too many videos about it. I play Boomy and DH, but they're my two mains. But I haven't really put too much Boomy content out there. I'm getting a lot of questions in my stream about Boomy, so figured I'd make a guide on how to climb rating in Shuffle and, you know, push that 1600, push that 2100, push that legend title for you guys. So I'm going to give you guys what I know, and disclaimer, all this information is just what I feel is the best. I'm not saying it is the best. You know, other people have different play styles, but I play very aggressively. I clone a lot, and I like to play super aggro. So I'm gonna show you guys what works best for me. Okay, that's all this is. So let's start talking about the gear. Okay, I try and get as much haste as I possibly can. Haste, definitely number 1 stat. You want to get faster clones. You want to get faster dot takes for more astral regen, faster globals. Mastery is good, makes your star surges hit harder. Verse, of course, is always good too. And you're going to have pretty high verse because you can't craft all the pieces that you want yet. Later on, we're going to craft a lot more pieces, which I'll talk about. But for the embellishments, you want to get precog. And I crafted it on my helmet because you can use the trophy that you get in the beginning to craft this piece. So, and this is the piece that you're leaving out of your 4-set. The 4-set, you use all the other pieces. So all the other pieces besides the helmet in the set. And guys, let me talk about the Witherrot Tome. This is the second embellishment that you're going to want to use. To get this, you craft on the auction house, but you need to, when you craft it, you need to craft an enchanted awakened crest, I believe it's called. And to get those, you need to get 60 of these aspect awakened crests. So to get these, you either have to do Mythic Plus or you have to do Arena. I'm pretty sure it's above 2100 or something like that, but let's look it up. You have to craft one of these. So so you have to get this material, which you buy from down here. Wait, where is it? Not this guy. Is this guy? Cut. This guy. Okay. You buy this item for 60 of these awakened crests. And then you go and you craft one of these. Enchanted. Craft one of these. And you're going to use this to get your Witherrot Tome to 525. And you're going to need to find someone to do a personal order for you. And tell them that you want it 525. And put in all of the mats for the Witherrot Tome. I spelled it wrong. Put in all the mats, level 3, for the leather and the Stonecrust hide. And send personal order. And make sure when you're doing it, don't make it 5 stars. Make it 4 stars. And they'll still be 525. Just let them know. And yeah, this offhand does about 5 to 7% damage per game. So it's really good. It's a really good dot. It's just more damage, which is essentially what you want to do as a Boomy. That's essentially this season PvP. It's just doing as much damage as you possibly can. Other than that, I bought this with my sparks for the main hand with the trophies, which you get. And I also bought the belt just for higher eye level. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the gear. I socketed Haste Mastery so I can get a little bit more power in my surges. I bought this ring off the auction house just because it has better stat weight. And I gemmed them haste. Basically just as much haste as you want. And I also have this add-on called True Stat Values, which shows me the penalty on each type of stat. So versatility, I'm at the breakpoint, I'm getting 10% penalty, 10% penalty on haste. So I'm putting a little bit more. That's why I have a little splash of mastery in there. So that's the gear. Now let's get into the talents. Okay. So I know it's named Shroom, but I've been experimenting with Orbit Breaker and Mushroom. Honestly, guys, I don't know what to say. They both are good. This one, it feels good not to have to press it on a global for Mushroom, but at the same time, Mushroom is a good slow, and it gives you your Waning Twilight when you have 3 dots on the target. So Mushroom's good for that as well, and also generates Astral. Orbit Breaker does generate a lot of Astral too, though, especially if you're spreading your dots like you should be. I'm just gonna say it's playstyle based, guys. I'm gonna run a little bit more with Orbit Breaker, but I have played a lot of Mushroom this season. But do whatever you want. Do whatever, you know, makes yourself feel good. They both are really good. In the AWC, I saw them playing both with Mushroom and with Orbit Breaker. So I want to talk about what you're fighting and what to change when you're queuing into a certain like healer or certain comp. Basically, versus any Resto Shaman or Gnome Priest or Resto Druid, I will play Light of the Sun, because what this does is when you beam a target, it'll reduce the cooldown of your solar beam by 15 seconds. So since you're not root beaming these targets, because shamans have Spirit Walk, they can get out of roots. Gnomes have escape artists, so they can get out of your roots too, and druids can just shapeshift. So essentially, root beaming is pointless against these healers. So use your beam as an interrupt. But against dragons, against holy pallies, things like that, you can spec out of it and play Umbral Intensity, which makes basically, if you're able to cast, Umbral Intensity is great. Versus spell cleaves, stuff like that. Things where you're not going to get trained by like 2 melee, because you're not going to be able to get as many rats off to get good value out of this talent. But versus melee, or I'm sorry, versus casters, you know, if you're fighting a dot cleave, if you want to do max damage, you want to spec something like this. Sorry, what did I do? Yeah, you want to put your points into Umbral Intensity, because you just get way more damage. Because you're able to free cast. If you're playing against melee, you're usually not going to want to play it, because you're not going to get as many casts off. So I usually play Live the Stun, things like that. So let's see what else we got. If you're fighting an Affliction Warlock, you want to make sure that you spec into Dispel, because Remove Corruption is really good for getting Agony stacks off, and when Warlock applies Agony to you, the stacks grow over time and it does more damage. So you want to pretty much be dispelling on cooldown. It'll just help your healer. It'll help the overall momentum of the game when you're playing Dispel. And you also want to play it into Shamans because they can Hex. Unless you're like it. Also, it depends if you're playing with the healer that can Dispel, like a Shaman or a Resto Druid. You don't have to play it as much. Just go based on, you know, what you're playing with and what you're queuing against, and think about the value of what you need to dispel. Like queuing, if you need to dispel your healer for Hex or something like that, if the Shaman's going to spam Hex your healer, you're going to want to play Remove Corruption. But these are the talents I usually, this is the build I play 99% of the time, unless I need Dispel. I like having 2 points in Well-Honed Instincts, just so you don't want to press Bear Form, but I'll go over that later more into the gameplay segment. But let's move on to the honor talents. You're basically going to play Moonkin Aura and Owlkin Adept at all times. High Winds is interchangeable with Thorns. You can play Moon and Stars, and you can play Protect of the Grove. There's different things you can play versus different comps, so I'm going to go over it a little bit, and also Disarm. First, Marksman Hunters, I'm 99% of the time playing Disarm. And the second you see them rapid fire or pop cooldowns, you want to Disarm. And it's good to root beam or have your healer in a clone when you send the Disarm, because this Disarm is dispellable. You could also do it versus rogues when they open, or when they pop Shadow Dance. Just disarming them will break up their burst, and rogues are all about setup. So even if you could break up their burst for a second, it's good. So that's Disarm. Moon and Stars is a talent that whenever you get into Eclipse, you get 50% less reduction in your interrupts. So basically when you're casting, you go into Eclipse. Let me go back to the dummy real quick. But you can use this talent versus, you know, things that you think are going to be trying to kick you a lot. So it makes a circle around you, and whenever you get kicked while you're in the circle, it'll just be half. So it's really good. If you can still try and juke, but if you do get kicked, it'll be reduced. I've definitely always try and get your precogs, but it's really handy into some things. It's really, really good. I like playing it. I think it's a super underrated talent for sure. High winds is just good. You guys all know this. If you play Boomy, every time you cycle in something, it reduces their healing and damage they do by 15% for 3 seconds. It was nerfed pretty bad. It's just kind of like a filler talent. There's nothing else you really want to play. Protector of the Grove makes your off heals on your teammates super high. So if you're fighting a damp cleave, like a UA lock and a priest, something like that, you can throw some off heals, throw some big off heals for the team, and it'll do like 200k crits. Thorn's good into double melee. Things that usually don't have a purge. Honestly, the purge doesn't even really matter because it'll still just make them trade a global, and chances are they won't get it if you're playing with a certain class that has a lot of buffs, a lot of hots on you, things like that. So Thorns is good into double melee. High winds as a filler if you don't know what to play. Fairy Swarm into hunters and rogues. Moon and stars into things that are going to kick you a lot. Okay. So now let's talk about how to actually do damage. Okay. So to actually do damage, when you're entering the arena, what I usually do is get my dots out like this. Moonfire, Sunfire. I'll use my Warrior Valoon. I'll get my first solar eclipse, and with your foreset, whenever you go into an eclipse, your first Star Surge does 30% more damage and 15 less astral power. So that's your big surge. I usually send one in. I'll beam the healer. You could do it first, so you could beam the healer, and then you want to rip your incarn as soon as you can, and just spam damage. Just surge, surge, surge. Use your Fury of a Loon. Sorry, I should have Fury of a Loon a little bit earlier. But on your incarn, Fury of a Loon, and just spam as many surges as you possibly can. So to do maximum damage as a Boomy, you have to keep your dots up, your Moonfire, Sunfire, on as many targets as you can. Healer also preferred, so you get more astral generation from all of your dots. You want to stay in Eclipse as much as you possibly can. And you want to cast rats as much as you can too. Like I said, if you're getting trained by 2 melee, it's going to be harder for you to get rats off for sure. So don't worry about it too much. But you want to always use your Starfires to get into Lunar Eclipse. I'm sorry, Solar Eclipse. And just keep surging. Keeping dot uptime up. Using your Fury. Fury Valoon. You want to keep cranking damage. I can't even emphasize enough. Just like my DH guides, Boomy, it's the same thing. You want to do as much damage as humanly possible to create momentum for your team. That's what the game is now. Doing damage, having spread pressure is just super important in the game. And that's how you're going to climb rating in Soul Shuffle. Just doing as much damage as you possibly can. I also want to talk about astral pulling. So if you see the healer is coming off clone DR and you can get a clone on him, or let's say you're playing with a rogue and he has a stun up, or you're playing with the DH and he has some big damage. He tells you, I got big damage soon. So I have big damage in 5 seconds. What you want to do is not send surges, and you want to let your astral get as much astral as you possibly can, so you can get ready for the go. Because the last thing you want is going into a go and not having any. If let's say you're about to do your rogue stun something right now and you have no astral power, what are you gonna have to do? You're gonna have to cast Wrath, and then you're gonna have to get a few star surges out. So astral pulling is very important, and that's kind of like a skill cap with Boomy, but it's something to think about for sure. You want to be ready for every go, every stun. You want to be ready for when there's CC on the healer, that you're able to do the damage that'll secure at least getting cooldowns or securing the kill. So also, this kind of ties into my add-on video. If you guys are confused on how to see things that are happening in the arena, you guys feel like you're not trading cooldowns right, it's all a game of chess, guys. And I explained that in my add-on video. Make sure you guys can see what's actually happening in the game using weak ores, using add-ons to see what cooldowns are up. Yeah. So let's get into the gameplay. So I want to show some VODs, and I want to talk about cloning offensively first. So basically, what you want to do to clone offensively, I actually have a little presentation here for you guys. You always want to box out the enemy healer. So let's say your team blue, right? This is your team. That's your DPS. This is your demon hunter. This is your healer over here. And yeah. So this is the enemy team. Let's say this is the enemy healer right here on a pillar. And these are the other enemies right in here. Okay. So what you want to do as a Boomy is stand somewhere over here. So you want to box out this healer so you can land CC. Box out. So he's trying to heal his team. You're in the middle of it, so you can get clones. You can root beam him, and let's say he runs. Let's say this guy, he sees you over there, so he runs to this side. Then what you're gonna do is go this way, so you can keep boxing him out. That's what I'm talking about, cloning offensively, and you know, that type of gameplay. You just want to stay. You just want to be able to land the clones. And you can also talk to whoever you're playing with, if you're queuing threes, to, you know, send a stun on the healer, send an in-cap on the healer, things like that to help you out as well. But for shuffle, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's pretty much you're on your own to get as much CC on the healer as possible while pumping as much damage as you can. Okay. Cloning offensive can also be something like cloning an enemy target very low. Let's say you're doing a go on a demon hunter. Okay. Let's say you're playing with somebody in shuffle. They get the demon hunter super low. The demon hunter trinket nethers a stun, and he's at 20% health. If you clone him right when he presses nether walk, that basically voids his entire nether walk, and then you can swap it to the healer if he's off DR, and then kill the demon hunter. Things like that. Cloning low is a very effective way to do things. I have a few VODs. This is the game I got number 1 on. So let's watch this a little bit and see what I do. We got stun the healer. Healer is off DR here. He communes right there. Cool. This is kind of late into the game. So you want to offensively use your clones very effectively in shuffle. I clone him. Look, so right here, we're going for a kill. He stuns the mage. I have the healer and a clone. And I see that he has trinket available. So what I do is I'm already casting a second clone for him. Because I know 100% that he's going to trinket, because I see the mage doesn't have block. I know that he has trinket. It's his only option. He has no commune. So I'm instantly casting a clone. Not even waiting for him to trinket to cast a clone. I'm just already doing it. Watch. So he's going to hesitate. He's going to trinket right there. And he's instantly in another clone. Instantly. Has no time to even press a global right there. And then we just kill. Boom. That's what I'm talking about, cloning offensively. Just being aggressive, knowing what's going on in the game, getting the clones, reclone the trinket instantly. Things like that. All right, so let's move on. Sorry, I'm sorry if it's a little choppy, this video. I just want to get a video out and explain it to you guys as best I can. I'm like talking naturally. I'm not like reading off the script, obviously. Might be a little shaky at sometimes, but I want to get the point across. Okay, let's see what happens. Root beam, I incarn. You want to incarn as early as possible in shuffle as well, because you want to be able to get to your next incarn, because usually your second incarn in shuffle is when you win. So basically, pop your damage early, get some good CC on the healer, get cooldowns, get bubble, get revival from this monk as early as you can. And you also want to stop them from killing you between your incarn goes. Just think about it like this. you're only winning on your incarn, usually. So during that 2 minutes where you're waiting for your second incarn, you want to stop as much damage as possible. So you want to clone, you want to, what I call clone juggling. Clone the mage, clone the DH, clone him again, root him, live, kite, do as much as you can to survive before your second incarn go. So let's see what happens here. I send a root beam, blasting mage, I incarn on him, Fury of a Loon, bash the healer off the root beam. I'm trying to get precog, but I get kicked. My healer gets asleep, hitting the DH in my line for a little bit. I see that he blurs, so I get precog. I try and clone him. He glimpses it. I reclone the trinket. So let me explain that too. This is a good defensive play right here, right? This is what I'm talking about. So look what happens. I get kicked by the mage. I see that the DH blurs right here, right? I was hitting him a little bit. He decides to blur. So what I do is I juke him. I get precog. He glimpses, but I know after playing a lot of games, I know how to time my clones off glimpse. So I time it right here. Right when he lands from the glimpse, get him in a clone. On his blur. Then he trinkets. And then they have no kicks for me. I clone him again. Healer's on DR. I can't swap the clones to the healer yet, because he's on DR from Sleepwalk. Basically, you just want to watch these DRs with whatever add-on you're using, and get as many clones on the healer and DPS as you can before your incarn go. So, my healer's in, and you also want to pay attention. A good time to press bear for him. Look, I see my healer's in a poly here. I'm in a stun. I'm at 50% health. So I know, and he gets a repoly. I know I'm going to need to press bear and live here. You need to pay attention when you see I get precog there. I clone the healer, doing some damage. Reclone him. On my Warrior of a Loon, press Warrior of a Loon, trying to get my Eclipse. I beam his cast right there. Maximize my damage. I'm probably going to clone the DH here soon, because the mage most likely is going to be able to live this go. So chances are right now I'm trying to clone the DH. I do. Clone the DH between the go, just trying to live, trying to minimize the damage that they're doing, while also doing as much as I can. Healer's off DR. I'm waiting, trying to get the mage juke. Trying to get the mage kick. Not able to. Trying to get the clone the healer. Gotta fake some kicks though. They're not really kicking me. I get kicked by the monk, unfortunately. Get swept. They're doing a lot of damage here. Everything's fine. We're just pumping damage. I get kicked, unfortunately. My healer got asleep on the healer, which is good, and which forces trinket. And then he kicked him there too. Bomb the mage, root beam the healer, no trinket. Can do as much damage as possible here. Clone DH, cross the DH on the go. Healer's off DR in 3 seconds, so he sends a gouge, which is a really good gouge there. But mage does have kick for me, so I'm going to have to juke it. I don't get the juke. Seabark's really good at kicking. So, luckily Rogue sends a blind. We get the block. I cloned him half. That was probably a pretty bad clone there, because it's kind of a waste. Actually, no, it was a good clone, because it comes out of block, has a revival. It's super late and damp, so his heals aren't going to do that much, so I was just trying to clone him through the block. Try and clone the DH, he glimpses it. But we live to our second incarn, and we just win the game. Because healer has no trinket, doesn't matter. Mage has no block. I have incarn. I let it rip, and we just do the most damage. It doesn't even matter. I just have so much damage with the incarn. He's not able to heal it at that point. If they can't kill me before my second incarn, chances are usually win the game. What else? Boxing out healers, fighting versus casters. Versus casters, basically what you want to do is cast a lot more rats. Let's see if I have a game versus casters here. Can't really find one, but basically versus casters, what you want to do is do as much damage as possible. I have been trying to figure out what works better, playing aggressive and going for clones on their healer, or just stand back and max parsing on the DPS. I usually play up on the healer and just try and clone juggle as much as I can. Cloning defensive low, cloning defensives low, cloning healer as much as I can, pulling my astral power, and just surging as much as I can. You just want to be able to cast rats a lot more because you don't have melee on you trying to stop your cast. You can just cast as many rats as possible. It does a lot more damage, and generates a lot more astral power than if you weren't doing that. I want to talk about kiting a little bit versus melee classes. Something that is a big problem for Boomies that a lot of Boomies struggle with is fighting into Demon Hunters. And I didn't play this game the greatest. We got the win versus team, but I want to quickly show some of the things that I do to kite the DH. Sorry, let me go back a little bit. So right here, for example, I'm pretty low. My healer has no trinket, full in cap on the healer. What I do, I see the healer is over here. The DH is going to chase me back here. I see that I have a root up. So I bring the DH back here and I root him full behind the pillar so his healer can't dispel him. So I use that to get away, throw some heals on myself. Waiting for the clone DR, I cast another root on him as well. I cast one more root for 3 seconds. I'm trying to get his clone DR to come off. So I'm not allowing him to touch me, trying to recover my team a little bit. And then I'm able to cast the clone. And then now we can get aggressive because DH is in a clone. I can actually play the game. Unfortunately, they cloned my healer and I almost die here. But I press Bark, we traded the darkness as well, and we're able to live like that. But that's just one of the things I'm talking about. Kiting DH as much as you possibly can. Trying to get your clones out. Trying to get as much precogs as you can. Trying to just min-max and live. It's very hard. Root him again. He melts. I'll be able to clone him here. Tried to clone again on the trinket, but I get kicked. You just want to use your roots. Use your wild charge pretty much on cooldown. Use your Typhoon as much as you can. It's not really that good versus DH. But versus warriors, you can use your Typhoon. Yeah, just clone as much as you can, guys. Like, do as much damage and clone a lot. That's pretty much Boomy. So, yeah. And that's pretty much what I got for you guys today. And in Shuffle, just a little, I'm going to do some bullet notes real quick. The best things to do in Shuffle to climb as a Boomy. Do as much damage as possible. Clone DPS on defensives. Clone them low. Try and box out the healer as much as you can. Clone the healer as much as you can. Try and live till your second incarn. Then just blast as much damage as possible. Astral pull. If you see that you have a go coming up soon, pull your astral for when you're able to get a clone on the healer. Clone juggle DPS. Just make sure that they're not able to kill you. So that's my guide. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, if you guys would like to follow my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/jbeezy, I'll put it down in the description. I'm a full-time World of Warcraft streamer. You guys can come in there, ask me questions, send me VODs. I do VOD reviews on stream. I'm here to help you guys. So come in live every day, ask me questions. Let me know what you think. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye.